Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Śrī Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Sriram Mayapur ki, Gangamai ki, Jamunamai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricha Naram Cheva Narottamam Daivim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tojayam Udirayat Nasta Preshu Ebadishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 26. Purusha Sva Bhava Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Ragopadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanam Purusha Swabhava Vihitam Purusha Swabhava Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramamam Varagya Ragupadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanan Purusha Swabhava Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Ragupadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanam Purusha Swabhava Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Ragupadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanan. Purusha Swabhava Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Ragupadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanam Purusha Swabhava Vihitan Shramam Vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Ragupadibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanan. Ladies, Purusha Svabhava-vihitan Yata Varnam Yata Shramam Vairagya Raghupa Ibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanan. Purusha, the human being, Svabhava, by his own acquired qualities, Vihitan, prescribed, Yata, according to, Varnam, classification of caste, Yata, according to, Ashramam, orders of life, Vairagya, detachment, Raga, attachment, Upadibhyam, out of such designations, Amnata, systematically, Ubhaya, both, Lakshanan, symptoms. Translation. At Maharaj Yudhishthira's inquiry, Bhīṣma first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualification. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. At Maharaj Yudhishthira's inquiry, Bhīṣma first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The conception of 4 castes and 4 orders of life, as planned by the Lord Himself, Bhagavad Gita 4:13, is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from material bondage or conditional life. In almost all the Puranas, the subject matter is described in the same spirit. And so also in the Mahabharata, it is more elaborately described by Bhīṣma in the Shanti Parva, beginning from the 60th chapter. The Varnashram Dharma is described for the civilized human being just to train him to successfully terminate human life. Self-realization is distinguished from the life of the lower animals engaged in eating, sleeping, faring, mating. Bhīṣma advised for all human beings 9 qualifications. 1, not to become angry. 2, not to lie. 3, to equally distribute wealth. 4, to forgive. 5, to beget children only by one's legitimate wife. 6, to be pure in mind and hygienic in body. 7, not to be inimical towards anyone. 8, to be simple. And 9, to support servants or subordinates. One cannot be called a civilized person without acquiring the above-mentioned preliminary qualities. Besides these, the Brahmins, the intelligent men, the administrative men, the mercantile community, and the labor class must acquire special qualities in terms of occupational duties mentioned in all the Vedic scriptures. For the intelligent men, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. It is the basis of morality. Sex indulgence, even with a legitimate wife, must also be controlled, and thereby family control will automatically follow. An intelligent man abuses his great qualifications if he does not follow the Vedic way of life. This means he must seriously make a study of the Vedic literatures, especially of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. For learning Vedic knowledge, one must approach a person who is 100% engaged in devotional service. He must not do things which are forbidden in Shastra. A person cannot be a teacher if he drinks or smokes. In the modern system of education, the teacher's academic qualification is taken into consideration without evaluation of his moral life. Therefore, the result of education is misuse of high intelligence in so many ways. The Kshatriya, the member of the administrative class, is especially advised to give charity and not to accept charity in any circumstance. Modern administrators raise subscriptions for some political function, but they never give charity to the citizens in any state function. It is just the reverse in the injunctions of the Shastra. The administrative class must be well versed in Shastra, must not take to the profession of teachers. The administrators should never pretend to become non-violent and thereby go to hell. When Arjuna wanted to become a non-violent coward on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was severely chastised by Lord Krishna. The Lord degraded Arjuna at that time to the status of an uncivilized man for his avowed acceptance of the cult of non-violence. The administrative class must be personally trained in military education. Cowards should not be elevated to the presidential throne by dint of numerical votes only. The monarchs were all chivalrous personalities, and therefore monarchy should be maintained provided the monarch is regularly trained in the occupational duties of a king. In fighting, the king or the president should never return home without being hurt by the enemy. The so-called king of today never visits the war field. He's very much expert in artificially encouraging the fighting strength in the hope of false national prestige. As soon as the administrative class is turned into a gang of mercantile and laborer men, the whole machinery of government becomes polluted. The Vaishyas, or members of the mercantile communities, are especially advised to protect cows. Cow protection means increasing the milk production, namely curd and butter. Agriculture and distribution of the foodstuff are the primary duties of the mercantile community, backed by education in Vedic knowledge and trained to give in charity. As the Kshatriyas were given charge of the protection of the citizens, Vaishyas were given the charge of protection of the animals. Animals are never meant to be killed. Killing of animals is a symptom of barbarian society. For a human being, agriculture produce, fruits and milk are sufficient and compatible foodstuffs. The human society should give more attention to animal protection. The productive energy of the laborer is misused when he is occupied by industrial enterprises. Industry of various types cannot produce the essential needs of man, namely rice, wheat, grains, milk, fruits, and vegetables. The production of machines and machine tools increases the artificial living fashion of a class of vested interests and keeps thousands of men in starvation and unrest. This should not be the standard of civilization. The Sudra class is less intelligent and should have no independence. They are meant for rendering sincere service to the three higher sections of the society. The Sudra class can attain all comforts of life simply by rendering service to the higher classes. It is especially enjoined that a Sudra should never bank money. As soon as a Sudra has accumulated wealth, it will be misused for sinful activities in wine, women, and gambling. Wine, women, and gambling indicate that a population is degraded to less than Sudra quality. The higher caste should always look after the maintenance of the Sudras, and they should provide them with old and used garments. A Sudra should not leave his master when the master is old and invalid, and the master should keep the servants satisfied in all respects. The Sudras must first of all be satisfied by sumptuous food and clothing before any sacrifice is performed. In this age, so many functions are held by spending millions, but the poor laborer is not sumptuously fed or given charity, clothing, etc. The laborers are thus dissatisfied, and so they make an agitation. The Varnas are, so to speak, classifications of different occupations, and ashrama dharma is gradual progress on the path of self-realization. Both are interrelated, and one is dependent on the other. The main purpose of ashram dharma is to awake knowledge and detachment. The brahmachari ashram is the training ground for the prospective candidates. In this ashram, it is instructed that this material world is not actually the home of the living being. The conditioned souls under material bondage are prisoners of matter, and therefore self-realization is the ultimate aim of life. The whole system of ashrama dharma is a means to detachment. One who fails to assimilate this spirit of detachment is allowed to enter into family life with the same spirit of detachment. Therefore, one who attains detachment may at once adopt the fourth order, namely renounced, and thus live on charity only, not to accumulate wealth, but just to keep the body and soul together for ultimate realization. Household life is for one who is attached, and the Varnaprastha and Sannyas orders of life are for those who are detached from material life. The Brahmachari ashram is especially meant for training both the attached and the detached. Powerful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Om ajnana timidandasya gnaj lakaya chakshurun militam gena tasmai Śrī Gurave namaha. So, in 1972, in June, around June first week, Srila Prabhupada was in Portland, Oregon, initiating about 50 or 60 devotees. So we were there, and Srila Prabhupada was giving pravachan or discourses on these particular chapters, which covers a lot of sociology and political science based on the Vedic culture. So he eulogized Maharaj Yudhisthira, who was a very great king, and we'll read how Maharaj Yudhisthira, because of the performance of sacrifices, yagnartat karmanani atra lokoyam karmabandhanaha tadartam karma kuntaya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Yagya vai Vishnu, Prabhupada says in that purport, means that all activities are meant, whether one is Brahman, Kshatri, Vaishya, Sudra, whatever one is, one should aim all his activities towards pleasing the Lord, Yagya vai Vishnu. And in that way, there will be harmony in our society. This is the way of the great Raja Rishis. Unfortunately, I have a very bad kind of throat problem. This is the way of the great Raja Rishis who ruled the world. So Prabhupada elaborated that during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the mountains, the ocean, the rivers, everything cooperated because of Maharaj Yudhisthira's great devotion. Of course, he's a great Mahabhagavad devotee of the Lord, found in the Mahabharata. Maharaj Yudhisthira's glories were greatly illuminated in the Mahabharata. So, because of all the cooperation of the rivers, there were, Prabhupada said that in his purports, there were pearls, there were diamonds, and gold coming from the mountains. Everything was cooperating. The rains were regulated. Anad bhavati bhutani parjanyana sambhavad yagya bhavati parjanya yagya bhava samudbhavaha. That, how's the last person go? That by the performance of sacrifice, rains are provided by the Lord and his servants, the demigods. And therefore, grains are supplied to us, and human beings are subsistence on grains. And in this way, not only the human beings, the animals, everyone is happy. In fact, all the animals are known as well as humans are known as the praja, the citizens of the state. So the animals here, Prabhupada is describing, have to be protected. The citizens have to be protected. And the Kshatriyas, they're not meant to propagate, the administrators are not meant to propose or propagate non-violence. Prabhupada said in one place to protect the administration, to protect human beings, and at the same time open slaughterhouses to slaughter animals is a philosophy of Satan in this particular canto. So, Chaturvarna mayashasham guna karma vibhagashaha. It is not the caste system. Krishna says, Tasmat sarvashu kalishu mama nusmara yujicha maya arpita mano buddhi. He says, just engage in your activities. Arjuna was not a Brahmin. He wasn't chanting japa every day. He wasn't performing yagas. He was fighting for Krishna, and that was his devotional service to Krishna. To fight. Surya teja dutri daksham yudye cha papalalayam. That the quality of the Kshatriya is Surya, means courage, teja, vigor, driti, determination, daksham, he's very expert. These are qualities of the Kshatriya, yudye cha papalalayam. Here Prabhupada is saying that the Kshatriya should not leave the battlefield without being wounded. Nowadays we have the President of the United States or the President of Russia or the President of wherever, India, wherever, and they sit back and they tell their soldiers, you should go to war. You know, they appoint their generals and they, go to war. Of course, those wars are based on ugra karma, or as Prabhupada says here, all these industries are degrading to the human mentality, to the psyche. The Vaishyas, they have to protect the cows and produce grains and so on, right? Krishi, Goraksha, Vanijam, Vaishya Karma, Swabhavajam. So Goraksha and Krishi, working the fields, so that the finer brain tissue is developed within the brain, so one can understand the ultimate goal of life. Now we read in the first canto and second canto, Nartarto, Dharmasya hi apavargasya, Dharma hi apavargasya, Narto taya pakalpate, Nartasya dharmaikantasya, Kamo labdaya hi shmitaha. The whole purpose of human activity, occupational engagement, is apavarga, to become free from pa, fa, ba, ma, pa, ba, and ma, parabhavas. That means you're working hard like an ass, but you're going to be defeated, even if you're pious, even if you're a big scholar of Sanskrit, but you don't believe in God, Krishna, as a supreme person. You have to face the samsara, mrityu samsara vartmani. At the time of death, you take birth again in the ocean of birth and death. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we know he rejected the impersonal philosophies of Shariraka-bhāsya, of Shankaracharya, which is rampant across the world today. People, they prefer impersonalism. So all these great scholars, as Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayaya aparita jnana, namam duskritina mudha, prapadyante naradana, Mayaya aparita jnana, asuram bhavam ashritaha. Mayaya aparita jnana, the people are very scholarly, highly intellectual, big philosophers, big thinkers, and they're duskritina, they're miscreants, because they do not accept the existence of the Lord. They do not accept the existence, even in many cases, of the soul, the Atma. So, Dharmasya hi apavargasya narto taya pakalpate, na artha. The goal of human society is not economic development for what? Sense gratification. This is clearly stated. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yadindriya pritya. People are mad after sense gratification because of bad leaders, bad thinkers, bad scientists, bad philosophers, the intellectual class, so-called Brahmins. They call themselves, in Boston, in Harvard University, call themselves, and MIT, they call themselves the Boston Brahmins. They're intellectual, but here Prabhupada is saying their intellectualism is totally misguided. And they're simply guiding people down the royal road to hell. Ashmapavaiva means leaders who bring their followers into a boat made of stone. And what happens? The boat sinks. The boat will sink. So, bad leadership, no spiritual culture, and therefore the qualities of human beings are all being degraded under the mode of passion and ignorance. Tadarajas tamo bhavo kama lobhadayas chaye cheta etarinavridam stita pragya prashijiti. That in the mode of goodness, at least, some of the good qualities come. Of course, in the mode of goodness is not enough. Vishuddha Sattva means one should engage in devotional service to the Lord, devoid of all desires for jnana, karma, anavridam, anukulyena krishnanu, shilanam, bhaktir, uttama. The pure bhakti is what we're striving for, devoid of any kind of intellectual or jnana or fruitive, there are fruitive desires that people may cultivate even as spiritualists. Desire for, as Lord Chaitanya said, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. So, these different material desires are to be eradicated by engaging in the fire of devotional service. As Rupa Goswami says, that devotional service is like a fire which burns up in a forest. All the wild animals, the snakes, everything gets burned up. So all these anarthas within our hearts become burned up by the fire of devotional service. But there are many pitfalls on the path of devotion. There are many pitfalls on the path back to Godhead. It is not a very easy process, as Srila Prabhupada once mentioned in Los Angeles. People, they may think, oh, these Hare Krishnas are chanting in the street, they're silly, whatever. But he says, let them do bhakti yoga. He says, devotional service, not an easy thing. It's not easy. So here, of course, Grandfather Bhīṣma is delineating how, the various castes can come to the level of Suddha-sattva or pure devotional service guided by real Brahmins. And here in the purport, of course, Prabhupada mentions that a real teacher doesn't smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol. I used to be friends with some professors in the University of British Columbia, actually Simon Fraser in British Columbia, big universities. And they were like highly educated guys, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to the bar. And they just very whimsical, very, very superficial. But they have very high positions. And the strategy of the intellectual class of people, they're called knowledge elites, is to eliminate the existence of God. And they come up with all these speculative theories, like, as Prabhupada says, the anthropologist Darwin is a Mahajan for the atheists. He says that from matter you get life, and then from life things evolve. They have no idea how life evolved from chemicals. No, absolutely not. They even know that behind the scene, but in public they have to toe the line of atheism. And they have to indoctrinate all the young people who are going through their educational system. They want them to come out like atheistic, two-legged animals. Dvipada pashu. Dvipada pashu. Swavidvarahostrakarai samstuta purusha pashu. Purusha pashu. Nayat karna patopeto jatu nama gadagaja. In the second canto, this is described there, that those who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses glorify those people who do not have an affinity for hearing the message of Gadagaja, one who is the deliverer from all evils. That is Lord Krishna, the deliverer from all evils. So unfortunately, Prabhupada keeps saying in his purports that the entire civilization that we call modern civilization is in chaos. And because of their sinful activities, Prabhupada has warned them that at any moment, Krishna can destroy everything by his energy, by his illusory energy, Maya, and her agent, Kali, personality of Kali, who is beating on the legs of Dharma just as someone's beating on the legs of a bull. So they're beating on the four principles of Dharma: austerity, cleanliness, celibacy, and four principles of Dharma that we follow. No intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, and truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. You're beating on these legs of a Dharma. Therefore, even in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says in one purport, Etam dristam avastabhya nastalpano pabudaya prabhavanti ugra karmana shayaya jagato hitaha. That verse is an allusion to the idea, to the possibility. And in the Prabhupada said, this verse, which is 5,000 years spoken ago, is very current today, where a nuclear war at any moment can destroy their whole civilization because they're engaged in ugra karma, demoniac activities meant simply to destroy their own civilization. Shayaya jagato hitaha. Therefore, the system of bhakti yoga, where one engages in devotional service according to his lakshanam. Yasyala lakshanam protam punso varma vivyajakam. This verse is in the 7th canto. That one should engage according to his lakshanam, his qualities. Not that he's born in a Brahmin family and now he's a Brahmin and he can exploit his position. And Prabhupada said, so many of these caste Brahmins, they take positions in administration because they have so many material desires. They're not pure Brahmins. Samadhamma tapak socham shantir arjavam evacha jnana vijnana ashtikam brahma karma swabhavajam. These are the qualities of a Brahmin: sense-controlled, mind-controlled, tapa, austerity. We practice austerities. Socham, cleanliness, means cleanliness. Prabhupada was very concerned and very emphatic when he came to Mayapur in the 70s. There were only 2 buildings here, and he was inspecting everything, and devotees worked so hard to clean. And there were outhouses on this side here. And Prabhupada came. And he went straight, made a beeline for one toilet they forgot to clean. He said, I've come all the way to Mayapur to find a dirty toilet. Those were outhouse, kind of outhouse type things in those days. So, cleanliness of the heart, kam, krodh, lobh, moha, mada, matsarya. The 6 enemies of the heart, of the soul: lust, kam, krodh, anger, lobh, greed, this burning desire, the more the passion. Krishna says, lobha pravittim arambha karmana shama spriha. People work very hard to fulfill their lobh, their greed. They think, well, if I have money, I get power over others, I get followers, I get whatever I want. Moha mada matsarya, the identification of the body is called moha, or illusion. And mada is madness. Madness means people, they think they're doing something that's very pleasurable, but it's giving them, it's actually killing them. Ultimately, building nuclear weapons, smoking cigarettes, taking intoxication, these things are destroying the human body, or a threat to human peace and harmony. Matsarya, envy. That's one of our great enemies. That someone has something that I want, and I'm envious. Someone's a guru, someone's a GBC, someone's a sannyasi. Oh, this person, he's just like me. I'm his godbrother. No, we accept whatever is given to us within the womb. Karmana daivanetrena jehodan papataye striyo pravishta. It says, by the hand of God, you enter into a certain karmic situation at the time, within a time of conception. You may become a devotee, because in previous life, as they say, asuchinam srimatam gehe, that because in previous lives you performed some prapya punya krita lokam, that in previous lives you did some very pious activities, you went to the heavenly planets, and then you come back down, you take birth in a family of pious Brahmins or Vaishnavas or something, or at least people who have some piety, and then you continue on your spiritual life, or you take birth in a family of a wealthy trading Vaishya family, Srimatam Gehe, people, families with wealth, or a country with wealth. So you take that opportunity to continue in your devotional service. So, Matsarya, envy. One should, who has envy, lobe, all these different contaminations within our heart, these are obstacles on the path of prema bhakti. You can do karma bhakti. That means some fruitive bhakti. I do some devotional service, but I have some subtle desire. Pratishta, puja, right? In the Gucha Mandir pastime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is cleaning the Gundish Mandir with the devotees. Hundreds of buckets were being passed from the Sarovar, and they're washing this temple. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is washing the temple, the mandap, with his own clothing, with his own tears, cleaning for the Lord to come, Lord Jagannath to come and sit there. So if we want prema bhakti, if we want the Lord to come into our hearts, Lord Chaitanya he's hankering to give us prema bhakti. But some of us are distracted by karma bhakti or jnana bhakti. You know, oh, I'm a highly intellectual devotee. I'm so learned. People respect me. They come to me for advice. Nay. Srinadapi Sunichana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you take this Maha Mantra and you string it on this verse. Haridas Thakur, Brahma Haridas Thakur. 300,000 names of God every day. And where did he live? In Shantipur, Advaitacharya arranged for a cave. He's living in a cave. Such an exalted Vaishnava. He wasn't saying, where's my Vyasa-san? I'm the Namacharya. What's going on? No, he's extremely humble. He wouldn't even enter into the Puri temple because of their cultural sensitivities. Because he was born in a family of Malechas, Islamic family, Malecha family. There's a backstory to that. But here we have someone who is a great Acharya. Every day, 300,000, 3 lakhs of names of God. And he's taking the humble position. So this is prema bhakti. This is what devotees are striving for. And there's so many distractions on the way. Puja, Pratishta, Bhakti Siddhanta, Prabhupada quotes him in one of the purports in the pastime of the Gundicha Mandir. Bhakti Siddhanta says sometimes we're chanting Hare Krishna, but we're watering some weeds, and they're choking up our Bhakti Lata. So even within the society of Vaishnavas, the Hare Krishna movement, the iskcon movement, the Vaishnava communities, we still have to practice due diligence. We have to avoid these different mental distractions. Chanchala himana Krishna. The mind is chanchala. Pramati balavadridam. Pramati. The mind is very obstinate. The false ego is influencing the mind. I am this important personality. But you know, even Lord Brahma, the first created being, he's born from the lotus navel of Lord Vishnu. He's praying to take birth as a blade of grass in Vrindavan. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also has his songs about, may I take birth as an Indra Gopa, as long as I can live in the house of a Vaishnava. Is that not so? So the more advanced you are, what is the symptom? Humility. And that is what is needed in this age of Kali. We need to develop prema bhakti. Because in prema bhakti, one can attract the fallen conditioned souls. There are many, many innocent people out there. As a madhyamadikari, one recognizes the Supreme Lord within the heart. One sees the demons. One associates with the devotees. And one preaches. He gives this mercy to the innocent. So in the madhyamadikari platform, as Prabhupada said, purity is the force. So we want to drive back this demonic civilization, this civilization of hogs and dogs, and we want to attract them by the purity of this movement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, we know, God himself. Krishna Varnam Trisha, Krishna Sango Pangasya. But like Krishna killed Jarasandha, he killed Kamsa, he killed Bhaumasura, he killed, every day he was killing demons, and he killed so many. Yada Yada Hidharmasya, he comes and kills, but in Kali Yuga, the Lord is giving special mercy. Vadanyaya Avatar. The most magnanimous, because not only is he giving bhakti, he's revealing, as we hear from Ramananda Roy, the most intimate aspects of devotional service. Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, they didn't teach Madhurya Ras. Madhavendra Puri, he is the one, the grand disciple, grand guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the one that introduced this Swakira, Aparakira Ras, or the conjugal Madhurya Lila. The conjugal love, in the Goloka Vrindavan, Lakshmi Sahasrasata, Sambrama Sevyamanam. The Govinda is surrounded by trillions of gopis. Unlimited. Everything Krishna does is unlimited in Goloka Vrindavan. And they're all trying to please him. The center of everything, the most beautiful, the most opulent, the most powerful, that is Krishna. And they simply want to please him. They're concerned with pleasing him. And when they see Krishna happy, they become happy. And when Krishna sees they're happy, then Krishna becomes more happy. In this way, there's a competition going on in prem, pure prem, premanjana trita bhakti vilochanena. Sada sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Yam shama sundaram achintaguna swarupam. Achintaguna swarupam. Govindam Adi Purusham. So the Adi Purusham appeared here at Yoga Pit a few hundred years ago when Christopher Columbus was invading and killing all the people out there in Americas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared here. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Yoga, he came to teach Vairagya, Vidya, and Bhakti Yoga. He came with all his associates. All his associates. The Pandavas were here. Ramananda Roy's brothers. Bhavananda Roy is the father. He's Pandu. He came with all his associates. Vasudev Datta, Prahlad Maharaj is Vasudev Datta. Right here. Shivananda Sena. So many great devotees right in this area. 500 years ago. See how the influence of Kali Yuga is. Now people are eating fish, chicken. Kali Yuga is very powerful. So it's our duty to, in a humble way, try to embrace and imbibe the Srimad Bhagavatam Purana and the holy name. To embrace the holy name so we can emulate the qualities of a real pure Vaishnava. That is our business. To be so pure that we can attract the attention of Krishna. And here this is Bhīṣma Dev, he's giving qualities of a devotee. Krishna in the first verse of the 16th chapter also gives qualities of a devotee, isn't it? Abhayam Shatpasham Shudir Jnana Yoga Vyastititi Dhanam Damaschyagyascha Swadhyaya Tapa Arjavam Ahimsa. It goes on. And he tells Arjuna, don't worry, you have the qualities of a devotee. And then he delineates the qualities of the demons. So when we look in our society today, 7 billion people on this planet, the majority are emulating qualities of a demon. Idam adyamaya labdam imam prapshe manoratam idam asitam api me bhavishyati punardanam. So much wealth do I have today, I will gain more according to my schemes. This person is my enemy and I will eliminate him. And the other person I will eliminate later. I'm happy, I'm aristocratic, I give in charity. Krishna describes even the demoniac. Oh, Ravana gave in charity. Karna gave in charity, but they're on the wrong side. They were against Krishna. So the Krishna describes the qualities of the demon in the 16th chapter, and this is the whole Kali Yuga. This is the entire population. So Srila Prabhupada is now being brought to this world, to this civilization, to change the course of the history of human civilization and deliver people to this Sankirtan movement so they can go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Is there any comments or questions? Yes? Prabhu. It's Jivanath Prabhu. He is my god brother. Where did you join? Philadelphia? Philadelphia. The home of the Constitution of the U.S. of A.
Okay, question is, in the beginning there, Bhīṣma was saying qualifications we should strive for. One of them is to be simple. And we were saying, because we have these desires that sometimes are very latent, this lust, this greed, envy, all these things, we don't see them up front, but they possibly are there. But if we stay very simple, we never get to that point where we think, aren't I wonderful? Look what I'm doing. So is it better to stay simple and not take on engagements that there is a possibility you could think you're the doer and I'm so wonderful? Or should we just stay in the crowd, keep it simple, and not strive to do more and more in devotional service?
So your comment and question, it's a nice combination, is in the assembly of Vaishnavas there must be leadership. So you had leadership, I had leadership. Should we avoid power and leadership and position and responsibility, because we see it could be dangerous. So many enticements. You get all the mayapur if you're temple president. If you're a sannyasi, you go anywhere, Yes, Maharaj, So there are pitfalls, many enticements by having a situation as a position of authority. Therefore, as Bhaktisiddhanta said, you should beat the mind with a stick in the morning when you wake up, Mangalarti, and then 100 times, and then in the evening with shoes, with the shoes, you beat your mind again before you take rest. So this is the idea that even we are given a position of authority, of leadership, of responsibility, we should never become influenced by the ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti. The big problem is from the mode of ignorance, as we learn in the 3rd canto, that from the mode of ignorance, from the prana, the mahatattva, the false ego is born. And the false ego is very, very dangerous. It's from the mode of ignorance. And Prabhupada says the mode of passion and ignorance are very dangerous, very dangerous. You must avoid them. So one must be very diligent to always controlling the mind. Asamshayam mahabaho manu durni graham chalam vairagena chagriyate. Krishna tells Arjuna that you should always practice detachment and practice vairagena chagriyate. Practice and detachment in devotional service. Detachment means, as Lord Chaitanya says, Kiba Vipa Kibya Nasi Sudrakene Naye Krishna Tattva. You can be a guru, you may be a sannyasi, you may be this, you may be that, but don't think, oh, I'm in this caste, I'm in this situation, this position, and that's who I am. No, I'm an eternal servant of the Lord, Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayura Dasa Dasa Anudas. Dasa Dasa Anudas. I'm a servant. You know, so if you're given by God's grace some responsibility, some power, some unique position, you're still a servant. Bhaktisiddhanta, when he's walking around here, his disciples would offer him obeisances. He would offer them obeisances. He's a great acharya. He's the most humble. Gokashodas Babaji said, take my body and throw it in the Ganga. He was living in the stool pits. This is a sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. It's a sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Trinata Peace Nichana. So that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. And we have to taste the nectar of the holy name. Attentive chanting of the holy name and avoiding the 10 offenses to the holy name to attain a better platform of devotional service. And then we're okay. We have to remember our goal is how to love the Lord. Because if we love Krishna, we love everyone. As Prabhupada said, everyone loves me because I love Krishna.
One question.
Yes, Prabhu?
Prabhu, Chaturvanyam Ayasishta Gunakarma Vibhagaha. Actually, most of the present situation, present generation, without observing these things, they are directly performing the devotional service. Without observing what the Bhagavad Gita, it was mentioned about this Chaturvanyam. But now the present situation, present generation is not very much interested with that. They are not observing that. And they are directly going for the devotional service. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the last chapter, it was clear. Sarva-dharman parityajya mamekam saranam raja. So if that is the case, how we can understand whether we have to observe the Chaturvanyam or if not directly to the devotional service?
Yeah, of course, it's a scientific, Varnashram is scientific. So it says guna karma. So Prabhupada engaged different devotees in different services. It's not that because I am an expert president or an expert GBC, I'm an expert administrator. That is my guna and my karma. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm a very advanced devotee. Whatever your situation, I may be good at cleaning the floors. I mean, Maharaj Pradapuruja is sweeping the streets. That's Sudra work, right? But because he loved Krishna, that is the qualification. Irregardless of what your external, and Lord Chaitanya said, these are external things. They're necessary. You need structure in society. You need social structure. If you're intellectual, if you have a brain, sure, you can be a teacher. Right? There's 6 qualities of the Brahman. 6 qualities. Teaching, swadhyaya, cultivating on these things, right? Giving and charity and so on. Performing yagya, teaching yagya, right? The 6 qualities. However, it has to be married or welded to our devotion to the Lord. Without the devotion, Shrama evi kevalam. Dharmaswanustita pumsam vishvakshena katasuyat notpadayad. One can be a big Brahmin, right? Yat karma nipano vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo nasat guru vaishnavanam swapacha. Prabhupada was saying that he was in Philippines, Korea, and these countries. He was saying that in these countries people are becoming devotees. But he says they're swapacha. Dog eaters, they're considered the lowest of all human beings. The dog eaters, but they're becoming devotees. China, Vietnam, Korea, all these places, they love to eat the dog. And Prabhupada was saying, I was hearing him say, this is the mercy of the Lord. This is that anyone, anyone can become a pure devotee of the Lord. Pure devotee. Aho bato swapacho tagariyan in the 12th canto. Yudhishthira Maharaj, Ahobato Swapacho, Sukadeva Goswami, Yad Jivarge Vartate Nama Tubhyam Tapusta Puste, Juhuvu Shashnurarya Brahmonachur Nama Grinanti Yete. How wonderful it is that a person who is born in a family of dog eaters, say in the Philippines, now they're becoming devotees. Chinese, Korean, they'll eat anything. They'll eat anything. But they're becoming Vaishnavas by the power of Lord Chaitanya, by the power of this holy name, by the power of the Guru Parampara. Very important that we keep ourselves in line with Srila Prabhupada and his predecessors, because he is the one that was empowered by Lord Chaitanya to spread this movement throughout the world. He is the one. I'm sorry, but he is the one. Even when Prabhupada's disappearance, I was there, and Narayan Maharaj was invited to speak. And the first verse he said was Kali Kalera Dharma Harinam Krishna Shakti Vina Harinam Shakti Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Parvatana. The first thing he said was, no one can do this, can spread this glorious movement, the Sankirtan movement, without being empowered by Lord Krishna. So Krishna entered the heart of Narottam Das Thakur. Lord Chaitanya entered the heart of Narottam Das and endowed him with ecstatic love of God. Similarly, the Lord entered the heart of Srila Prabhupada, just like Narottam Das. These are great, they're not ordinary gurus, they're not ordinary swamis. They're empowered. Lord Chaitanya enters the heart and empowers them to destroy Kali Yuga. Prabhupada says, we have waged one who rejects Maya and takes shelter of Krishna. He's waging war on Maya, waging war on Kali. We're warriors, we're revolutionaries. Srimad Bhagavatam is our weapon. Bhagavad Gita is our weapon. The holy name is our weapon, and the Vaishnav Sangha is our weapon. So we have to take shelter of these things. Rupa Goswami says, the 5 things that are very important in devotional service. We have to take shelter of these things and stay strong so we can push back Kali Yuga. We can destroy the demoniac civilization. That's our business. And it won't be easy. It's not going to be easy. Prabhupada said, somehow or another distribute my books. Somehow or another. So even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it said, Lord Chaitanya derived many tricks to drown the fallen souls in the ocean of love of God. Many tricks. So we have to be very innovative in distributing Krishna consciousness, and Krishna will protect us. Krishna says, Masuchaha, don't fear, I'll protect you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Someone is asking the question, although it's very late now, I overspoke. I'm very sorry, I offer my apologies. He's asking sadhana bhakta, how to approach prema bhakti. Those things are given by Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita. It is also delineated, very clearly illustrated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. So we have to cultivate these practices as given in the Nectar of Devotion and the Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction. And in there, Rupa Goswami also points out the obstacles on our path. So you have to constantly keep the mind under control. Bandharatmat manas. Keep your mind your friend by controlling it. Keep the desires in your heart free of these enemies, these wicked ghosts that enter your heart. So we're all trying. We're all in the process of purification. Because pure devotional service, or prema bhakti, is extremely rare. Extremely rare. So there's sadhana siddhis, kripa siddhis, and nitya siddhis. So Prabhupada is nitya siddha, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, nitya siddha. Then there's kripa siddhas. Who's a kripa siddha? Ajamil. His whole life he's a murderer, killer, stealer, thief, gunda. Time of death, Narayan. Vishnu Dutas come. There's a lot of kripa there. Because Haridas Thakur says, one who doesn't get the mercy of you, Lord Chaitanya, in this age of Kali, will take birth in lower species of life. Millions of kalpas. Not millions of births, millions of kalpas. That's in the discussion between Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya. So it's our business to simply try and please the Guru. Try and please the great acharyas, right? As it stated in Upadeshamrita, to please the great acharyas, and then we're safe. Always think, how am I pleasing the great acharya? And gradually, they'll open up the doors. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. He wants us to go back to Godhead. He wants it, but we have to be careful. Hare Krishna.
One more question, please. How to get rid of puja and pratishta? How to get rid of puja and pratishta?
That's a very good question. As I was saying, in the nectar of instruction, I want us to take shelter of the void. Utsahan nischayat daryat, tat karma pravartanat, sangatyaga suto vrite, sadbir bhaktir pranashyati. So we have to embrace these things. We have to take shelter of those devotees who we feel are senior to us, and ask in confidence. This is association, to inquire in confidence and to give good advice, to exchange in gifts, and to accept gifts. This is the Vaishnava association. So in this way, to keep oneself very humble. Amanidvan adambidvam, ahimsa shantir arjavam. So there, in the Bhagavad Gita, the first quality that Lord Krishna tells Arjuna is amanitvam, which is humility. To feel always oneself as the most fallen, as Lord and a straw in the street. Adamvidvam. The problem is dambo. Dambo darpo bhimanas cha. Krishna says these are qualities of a demon. So these qualities in the neophyte stage are also coming within our minds. Dambo darpo, arrogance, conceit, abhimana, pride, false pride. I've been a brahmachari for 20 years. I deserve respect. I'm a sannyasi. I deserve respect. I'm a Prabhupada disciple. You should show me respect. Offer me obeisances. No. You can never get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya if you're suffering from these things like pratishta, puja, jiva hinsa. This is described as little as weeds. Weeds. And you're watering the weeds by chanting every day. I'm doing my japa every day. I'm going in kirtan, but I'm thinking, when will I become a big personality in the assembly of Vaishnavas? Will I get some admirers, adoration, distinction, profit? These are the three subtle manifestations of sex desire. Adoration, distinction, profit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so humble, he's God himself. He sat where they were washing their feet in Kashi and Varanasi when he met Prakashananda Saraswati and his 60,000 disciples. He didn't go in and say, hey, I'm God, man. I'm Narayan. I'm Supreme Lord, surrender. No. Very humble. He sat there in a humble position and gradually convinced Prakashananda Saraswati, you're not God, you're not Brahman, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, all this stuff that is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Klesho dikatarastesham avyakta sakta, that the path of impersonalism is full of klesha, full of klesha, like anxiety, obstacles, problems, So Krishna doesn't recommend it. So Lord Chaitanya so mercifully converted the entire, assembly of impersonalists and Prakashananda Saraswati. They became devotees. Sarva-bhūma Bhattacharya, he's a big jnani, became a pure devotee of the Lord, very intimate devotee of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya didn't just go and smash him. He actually was very humble and listened to his dissertations. And then he pointed out some mistakes in his dissertation on the Atmarama verse. So this is our business. Simply try to please Srila Prabhupada, the great Acharya, in a humble way, a very humble way. Never forget that. That's the mind. Anatmanastu shatruve. Shatru means your enemy. If you don't beat your mind, push your mind down, kick your mind, then it becomes your enemy. And although you got this great treasure of the Hare Krishna movement, you may leave it. You may go away. That's the greatest tragedy in the world, is that one gets the mercy, the Bhakti Lata Bij, and then he misuses his independence and again falls back down into the samsara. It's very unfortunate, most unfortunate. So we want to stay fortunate and we want to make others fortunate. The Prabhupada said, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. The Brihad Madanga is distributing his books. He said Krishna wrote these books. I didn't write them, Krishna wrote. Krishna wrote every word in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many books. Every word is written by Krishna. Prabhupada is the instrument. Ramananda Roy is the instrument. And Lord Chaitanya is empowering Ramananda Roy. It's the same thing. Arjuna is the instrument. Krishna is doing everything. Arjuna is getting the credit, the glory, right? That's how Krishna works. I think it's time to stop. Hare Krishna.